at Himss 2019.
My very first job was a programmer.
Very first job, staffing for Robert Half.
I scooped ice cream at an ice cream shop.
First job was a counselor in training for a summer camp, and it taught me to be patient. Actually, it taught me a lot of patience, especially with some younger kids and stuff. To be patient with everything, and good stuff will come out later.
I cleaned up in an arcade.
To not be stressed when it gets busy, because the crowd will die down and it will get quiet again and things will go back to normal.
So my first paid job was I was a line cook in a pizza restaurant, and that taught me that I didn't want to be a line cook for too long.
So my first job was as a registered nurse. First of all, it taught me the biggest people skills. And it doesn't matter what profession you are, what you do in life, where you go, you need people skills. You need to care. And that's the biggest thing it taught me. You need to care.
The first one was a month-long trip on a research cruise.
I worked at a gas station.
Probably the biggest thing that I saw was cultural diversity, because that ship had so many different nationalities on it, so many different people.
My very first job, actually I worked at McDonald's when I was 13 years old, and I worked there for 6 weeks, and in my first month I was Employee of the Month.
I would say probably one of the most meaningful impact jobs I've had is when I was younger. I worked at a summer camp for children with disabilities, as well as at a summer camp for just children, and I think that the respect that I have for parents and for teachers and educators who do that on a consistent basis was amazing, and so that was probably the most meaningful opportunity I've had.
Mostly the women in my family, funny enough. Raised by a single mother and a stepmother and grandmothers that were both widowed with 7 children, having to survive without university education. So it was a lot of women.
My parents, my mom and dad. If I had to say one, probably my dad. So he worked hard. He was a truck driver, drove a truck for 40 years, and had like pretty much perfect attendance for all 40 years that he worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer. That really taught myself, my brother, my sister, how to work hard.
Probably my coaches. I swam collegiately and I grew up with some great figures to look up to.
My grandfather influenced me the most because he was a very self-sufficient, a very efficient person, and a very good manager. So I've always tried to emulate him and the way he did things. But this was a man that grew up, had 15 children, and he lost his wife, which was my grandmother, when the youngest child was 4 years old. So he had to raise several of those children on his own, and he did that very effectively.
My grandmother, because she's very headstrong, very independent, and like back in her day, you didn't really go to college and stuff, and yet she started her own business. She raised 3 kids, so she has 7 grandkids, so she's really been a role model of like, you just push through it, you can do it.
I would have to say my dad. He graduated with a master's, and after us he went to go get a PhD to prove to us that you can be however old and still do stuff. He got me this painting on my wall that says, it doesn't matter, 20 years from now, you're either going to be really happy or really sad by the decisions you make. So from there I take it, life's a chance, you just got to go for it.
Surprisingly, it's actually Oprah Winfrey. She started she has captured and is successful in an industry that she started. It was so difficult. She had so many challenges, and she rose. She never gave up, She made it her oyster.
I would say that my biggest influencer is my mother. She immigrated from China, and I actually immigrated with her, and she went from a staff accountant in one of the largest companies in China to pushing dim sum carts in LA, which was a huge step down, but she's made it back up and sponsored me through university, which allows me to pursue my own dreams, which is it's a big thing for me.
I would have listened to my mama.
That you have 30 seconds to make a decision. Don't keep perseverating forever and ever.
I would have purchased some stocks.
Study more computer science, understand the lower levels of engineering. I majored in economics, still really interested in economics from a systems perspective, but I've also understood that computer science and data analytics in general is really the future, and I'm fascinated by it, but my programming skills are not as up to par as they would have been if I could have told myself that advice 5 years ago.
Be better than your family. Go further than they did. Prove them that you're more than nothing like they were. Just to go and live life. Actually, go speak to people, learn stuff, and go to school.
I think it's just understanding that the value in life is time, and you can't go back and get more time. So just be very deliberate about what you're doing with your time.